Hello everybody, my name is Ryan Thomas, and this is actually the third time I've posted the same video due to YouTube's shittiness. I've had to post 3 different videos on this same subject, so I'm a little irritated, but we carry on. This video is dedicated to the 2014 NFL Draft, and it's no better time of year than early May now that it is not going to be in April. Which I'm pretty disappointed because it's around my birthday, and that was something I really enjoyed before my birthday, but now it's after my birthday. But whatever. I'm going to go through picks 1 through 5, what I think will happen, and who I think should be picked on these 5 teams. The draft order goes the Houston Texans, the St. Louis Rams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Cleveland Browns, and then at number 5 we have the Oakland Raiders. I'm going to give you guys my opinion on who I think will go in those picks. Number 1, a very tough decision for the Houston Texans. They have to choose between 2 of, in my opinion, the best playmakers on both sides of the ball, whether it's Johnny Manziel or Jadeveon Clowney. My opinion is that those are the 2 best guys in the NFL draft, period. I don't see anybody else even close to those 2 guys. That is my opinion. I've watched a lot of film on these guys. I've seen, I've followed Johnny Manziel since his inception into the Texas A&M's program. I've followed Jadeveon Clowney since his inception in the program, but that hit that he laid on the LSU running back that one game really shot him up to a whole new level, and, rightfully so. It was a beautiful hit. But I think that the Texans' biggest offseason need is quarterback, and I see Johnny Manziel being the number 1 overall pick for that very reason. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. I think that no player is a better playmaker in this draft than Johnny Manziel, whether it's throwing the ball on the run, running with the ball, or just standing in the pocket. He picks defenses apart with ease, and it's almost as if he has eyes in the back of his head. That's an expression that they use for a lot of guys, that when there's pressure coming, he can sense it, and he can get rid of the ball like that. Like it's quick, fast. His speed is unlike any other I've seen in a long time, maybe on Mike Vick's level. He has straight line speed too. It's not like just cuts and stuff like that. If he was running straight, you could see him running, and it's like, wow, he's fast. So Johnny Manziel, say what you want about his character or anything like that. These guys aren't running for president. They're playing football. That does not matter. If he's the number 1 overall pick, then the pressure will be off him. I think the pressure that people think will be on him being the number 1 overall pick, he'll see that as, well, I'm the number 1 overall pick now. I'm the face of the Houston Texans, so I need to get my stuff in gear and work on myself as a person. And I think he will. I think he wouldn't have declared for the NFL draft if he had any concerns about his character. That's my opinion on that. Number 2, the St. Louis Rams. I see Jake Matthews, the left tackle that protected Johnny Manziel's blind side, going to the Rams. You could make the argument that they should take Clowney here, but I really don't see it due to the fact that they have Robert Quinn from University of North Carolina that they drafted last year, the year before, I'm not really sure. And then they have Chris Long, who they drafted 2nd overall a few years back as well. So those are 2 proven pass rushers on the defensive end, at the defensive end position. And their linebackers are good too. They have James Laurinaitis still. I really don't see the Rams taking Clowney unless Jeff Fisher completely falls in love with him, which is quite possible. But I think for the biggest position of need is an offensive tackle, and Jake Matthews is the best one in the draft. So I see Jake Matthews going to St. Louis at number 2. Number 3, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I believe are actually onto something by the hiring of Gus Bradley. Even though they had a very poor record last year at 4-12, I think they were able to really put things together as a defensive unit. They weren't as bad as people think, and they did have a bit of a tough schedule if you think about it. So I really see them, being better, not great, but better when they take Jadeveon Clowney at number 3. I think that there's no doubt in my mind that they will pick Jadeveon Clowney at number 3. He is the best defensive player in the draft, and Gus Bradley is defense. He is great. He's a great linebacker, and I think that he's going to be an immediate star, whether he's in Jacksonville or St. Louis or Houston. I think that he'll be a star on whatever team he is drafted by. It doesn't matter what scheme he's playing in or anything like that. Jadeveon Clowney is a great player, and he's going to have a great combine. And I think that might be able to push him into the number 1 overall pick, but I see Clowney going number 3 to Jacksonville. Number 4, the Cleveland Browns. In another rebuilding offseason, they fired Coach Rod Chudzinski after 1 season. A lot of fans were a little frustrated with how long it took them to find a new head coach. And they ended up hiring Mike Pettin, who has credentials, more credentials than people realize. This guy was a defensive coordinator last year on the Buffalo Bills. He really reshaped that defense and put them back in the right direction that they needed to be in going into this year. Last year, they led the league, and they were second in sacks, and they were second in interceptions, I believe, maybe in the top 3 at least. I know that. They were really able to get a lot out of players that aren't necessarily that talented, but under Pettin's scheme, he was able to really blossom their skill sets. And I think that he'll do the same for Cleveland's defense, which is not too shabby in the last few years, one of the better run defenses in the NFL. Phil Taylor clogging the middle. He's kind of like a Vince Wilfork type player. Joe Hayden is a shutdown corner. I think there's Richard Sherman, and then there's Joe Hayden. And there's a bit of a difference between the two, but I think that Richard Sherman is the best corner, and then Joe Hayden is number 2. And Revis might be number 3, but I'm not really sure anymore. He's kind of irrelevant, but that's another story. But Hayden is the second best corner, in my opinion, in the NFL. I don't think Cleveland needs anything defensively. They got Paul Kruger as well from last year from the Baltimore Ravens in the free agency. They drafted Barkevious Mingo, the linebacker from LSU. Their main position of need is a quarterback, and Blake Bortles is a great quarterback, and he's my number 2 quarterback on my board of the top 5. He's from the University of Central Florida, so there's a little bit of flack on him as far as the college that he's attending, but I think that his skills have been proven. I think that his measurables are probably the best out of anybody's in the quarterback class. He's 6'5", he's almost 240 pounds. He's like a Ben Roethlisberger mixed with a Jake Locker type player. He's an exciting guy to watch, and if you watch that game against Louisville, he led them down the field very, very well. And I really see them taking Blake Bortles at number 4. At number 5, we have the Oakland Raiders. This is a tough pick for the Raiders as well. You could see them going in the direction of a quarterback. You could see 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 5 picks, but I just don't see it. I can't see them committing to a quarterback this high once again, and having him not pan out, investing a big draft choice like that into a quarterback that you don't really know what you're going to get out of as far as the 3rd best on my board. We'll get to that later. I see the Raiders taking the best playmaker that's left, and I think that that's Sammy Watkins from Clemson, the wide receiver. I think the wide receiver is actually Oakland's biggest position of need. Demarius Moore is the only receiver I can even think of that is on the Raiders. They invested heavily into Darius Hayward-Bay over Michael Crabtree, and that backfired mightily. But Sammy Watkins is a stud wide receiver. You could see Mike Evans going at this pick too, depending, but I think Sammy Watkins would be perfect for the Raiders, for the silver and black, and I think that that's the pick that they're going to go with. Those are my first 5 picks. My first 5 picks in the 2014 draft. That's what I think the Texans, Rams, Jags, Browns, and Raiders will do. Let's talk about it. Let's give me something to talk about. All right. Have a good day.